Hello, it's Jason Train and welcome back to Planet Coaster. Today we're starting on a new project. We'll be back with Busch Gardens in a few days. It's just going to be a really long episode in terms of work I'm putting in. It's going to be a slightly different format. So today we're starting on a Skyrocket 2 coaster by, I believe, Premier Rides is the manufacturer. I can't remember exactly the name of the manufacturer. So it's based on it's not exactly the same. I tried my best, but I think it's pretty close. My image of inspiration was Tempesto at Busch Gardens, as that's the most one I'm familiar with, and I kind of just went from there. We are limited in some ways by the Planko engine, and specifically, you can't launch it backwards and then forwards. You can't do it with this style of ride, even though this would be the one where you can. It even has a back and forward piece, but you can't run it through the station. That's the big problem. There is a coaster in the game where you can do that, but it is an inverted hanging coaster. So we did not do that. Might be able to fandangle it with messing with OLVs or something, but nope. So my first pass on this ride, I made it way too circular. It's a little bit more kind of straight down in some areas and all that sort of stuff, but I think it's pretty close even the first run, and the second one makes it closer. Also, the supports will be removed and will eventually, not in the course of this part, but in the future, we'll build the proper support structure for this kind of ride. And actually, one of the support sides will be mainly a rocket, because I didn't tell you the theme of this coaster. It's the Cosmic Cow Space Rocket. I thought it was kind of fitting for a just kind of ploppable ride, and how it's also the Skyrocket, I thought it would be a little pun on the name. I liked it. Also, it's sad, but you can't really get rid of the flames that easily on the car, but I think I made them look kind of cool in the end. This is the actual car that we'll be using. And you'll see me just kind of test it a lot of times throughout the course of this video, just me getting a feel of, does it feel right? I think, yeah, this is me coming back in after talking to people on Bro Nation about just how the actual coaster would be in real life. And it's a Heartline roll, not an inline. So, and the coaster in real life only has one version, and the rest are, the loop is a non-inverting loop. Also here it was me trying to get it up to the max speed. I can't get it up to the speed of the actual rear one, which is 62 miles an hour, but it gets up to something like 57, so that's pretty close. Also, it's the exact same height of 46 meters. Actually, this one might be 48. I don't remember. It was 46 at one point. And again, just kind of making it a little bit more droppy. Which means the game thinks there's another inversion, but there isn't. It's probably at that point on the loop on the right, in the background. Because I think I inverted it slightly too early, but I've never actually gone in and did anything about it, because I'm quite content with it. The ratings aren't the best, but they work. And smoothing this out was a little wonky, just because it would lose its shape, and it would also just not work. But overall, I'm kind of happy with how the layout turned out. I mean, the way I consider this coaster in real life is a coaster you buy on Amazon. Of course, you don't buy it on Amazon, but it's a pre-made model by Premier Rides that the company just orders and built on site. More like an IKEA, I guess. But yeah, there's something like 6 of these in the world at the moment, and I think there's still more to come. But it's a good coaster, but it's not long. Mine's only 26 seconds. The real-life version's about 45 to 50. Alright, so now we're beginning. So on one side of it, there's going to be a big rocket, and that's what we're starting on now. It's very simple cylindrical shape, and it really won't get much more detailed than that. Frankly, I'm trying to figure out how I can, but I have not figured that out yet. I mean, when I do, I will make it so, but right now it's going to be a very simple cylindrical shape with 2 boosters on the sides. We'll make those later. Actually, we're starting on the thruster now. So recently, I figured out, hey, lights make really good small objects. And I realized even later that they're really bad if you want to light them. Because the game gets really confused when you have 2,000 of them or so, and you try to light them, and if I remember in the post, I'll put a little overlay of what happened when I tried to light it. It was kind of interesting. But yeah, using different lighting shapes, you can create some really cool shapes. So actually, we're building an engine thruster right now. This ends up being way too small for anything we end up doing, but it's kind of cool. It's still a nice little model. and I'm actually quite content with how it looks. Me realizing that I made one that's way too small. So then I go in and decide, hey, I should just make a booster engine. So this is where the booster idea came from, and just me trying different parts and all of that, trying to make one that fit. And then I looked at the size and compared it to the ship. You'll see that in a moment. Also, it took me ages to remember that there's word shapes in the game. Yeah, I'm like, oh, this is too small. So we went in with that size instead, and again realized this is too small. So we built a bigger version, and we actually used the base as a reference this time to make it the right size, which I should have done the first time, but I didn't, because I don't think like that sometimes. Oh, I built it inside the wrong building. I was watching over the playback earlier, and I just couldn't remember why I deleted it and replaced it, so I built it in the wrong building, so I had to redo it. That's fine, it doesn't take that long. And also, the lights, if you turn them off, they have a really cool texture, which is where the light comes out, but I think it looks really cool for just some detail work that you can do. So I'll use that later inside the rocket, much later. Not entirely sure why I was doing what I was doing, but I was. Also, I didn't actually delete that wooden post, and that still confuses me, because you saw me delete it. I saw myself delete it. I'm still thoroughly confused about that. Also, the nose cones on these boosters look horrible. I know that. I might come in later and redo them, but frankly, that would be some insane detail for no reason, unless there's a piece in the game that might be good, which I think there actually might be, so I'll look at that. So now we're starting on the top of the rocket. This is going to be very similar to how you build a dome in Planet Coaster, except for I'm again doing these little lights. So the structure itself ends up being around 1,800 pieces, just the dome. Because it didn't occur to me that this would take so many pieces. Luckily, since it's only one build, it won't really affect frame rate that much, but it is quite the amount of pieces. Also, I've realized multiple times through building this that I'm just taking the angle wrong, so I have to readjust it a few times, make it more correct. Also, I really love how that heartline roll looks, even though it's just an in-game heartline roll that you can just put in from the track set. I think it looks really nice there. In real life, I think it's actually a sideways heartline. It's like on its side. It's kind of weird, but I opted for that one. It gives the coaster a little bit more speed when coming out of it too, which is helpful for getting through the beginning of the second half. Just like getting to that little drop. That's what that word is. But yeah. Okay, so it comes up, copy and paste it, you know, just like how you would do it in a dome in Planet Coaster normally. Just do the copy and paste method and rotate it, rotate, rotate. So you get a really nice structure. I think it looks really cool right here, and I might use that kind of design later on, not in this build, but just in reality. But now it looks a lot more like a rocket, just adding that bit. And I make a little opening for the coaster to come out at the top, very small one. And then I move those guys up to make it look like a hatch is opened. And I think that looks kind of good, and it's also because people are hitting their heads. And I like that little texture on the bottom because it looks like it's actually made to lock in. It looks cool. I realized that the rocket wasn't centered on the track, so I just slightly adjusted it. I realized that there's a little flat portion on the roof. We don't fix that until much later on in the video. And I really don't say it's a fix. I might have to come back in and do it again. Me just checking clearance, because I want to make sure there is enough clearance for the people to sit on. I think this was a screenshot moment. I don't know. Really don't know. But overall, I think it's looking pretty good. I'm like, we need a window. So I just kind of paint on a little window, and I think it looks really bad, so I'm going to come in and do a second take of it. Because it's a pretty bad window. Oh, I didn't really see it on the inside. So then I decided that we need to chop off the top of the rocket, and to do kind of like a control center that I don't need to show sort of thing. So put in these pieces, and I need to find the door, the Sci-Fi door. I also thought about using these passageways inside. I thought they were smaller. They are not. Oh, and so the way I handle the inside of the rocket is I just line it with pipes. Because in reality, this would be a fuselage. It would have a ton of fuel inside of it. The booster at the bottom. So my thought is this is what will have the fuel. Quote unquote. But it also allows for conduits and stuff like that to run up and down. And I think it looks okay. I mean, it's not the best. It looks very half-assed because it is. And I like these little ventilation ports, so I go ahead and throw an effect in there because typically there would be an effect on a kind of ride like this. So I'm just kind of playing with the different effects. I thoroughly thought about a water effect, and then I thought it'd be a little weird just to see water falling out of a pipe. So I go with a white smoke and a oil jet, because these would have some sort of fuel, so if there's a fuel leak or something like inside of the rocket. Whatever. It works. And one thing I like is that the ride camera, when you get near it, it looks like it shuts off, so you're not actually getting hit by it, which is clever by the game's rendering engine. Also, one thing I realized is that the box lights don't render at a distance. And I'm not redoing the dome, so we have a dome that de-renders at a certain distance, which is a little weird. It's kind of cool because you can see the insides of the rocket, and I think it looks kind of cool. So here I'm trying to find the Sci-Fi door passage thing, and I just couldn't find it. I already forgot where it is. There it is. Oh, it's in wall extras, because it's technically an elevator, but I thought it looks really good as a Sci-Fi door. It really does. Because really the futuristic door looks like a modern door, so it's just, you gotta sometimes just work with what you got. And I'm just filling this area up with the screws, what are they called? I don't remember. Whatever they're called. The wall panels that make it look more detailed without actually doing any detail work. Because I was feeling lazy and like I don't want a white roof. I want it to look like it's plates. I had a little floor step here because in reality in space you would be sideways and you'd be able to walk around the cabin. Frankly, the amount of thought into this it isn't too realistic if you think about it, because I think the second stage would detach unless it's like a space shuttle, which it obviously isn't. But it works. So the whole premise behind this is it's a Cosmic Cow milk rocket. They're going to find milk in outer space, and they go to the moon because the moon in reality is made out of cheese. And I'm really excited to make the backstory in the queue. So they're going to harvest cheese from the moon to turn into milk because they're running out of milk supplies on Earth. I don't know why this is the plan of the rocket, but it is. Of the ride, for that matter. So then I go in at the bottom and move that plate that we made at the top and just start working on the bottom of the rocket because I want to put a floor in, and I'll leave these little gaps and I'm going to fill it with ventilation. So, because in reality these effects that we would have up in the rocket would probably create some sort of condensation, therefore water, so you need to be able to drain the water out, so that's where this comes into play, because the water will fall to the lowest point, which is these vents, which I guess would be more like drains, and I try to blow them up. So now I'm just trying to create some sort of door, because frankly this wouldn't just be open, it would be a door of some sort, not in reality of the ride, but in terms of the rocket, if there's a big opening at the bottom, there would be something to close it for when you get up, are launching, so you're still the aerodynamic shape. So then I carry the pipes down to the bottom, and I get rid of some of them just to allow for the vent. I don't know if I did that on the right, now that I think about it. I'm just sitting here thinking, I don't think I did the one on the right. Because you see there's one on each side, and I'm curious now. Don't know what's happening. Oh, I guess I didn't do the one on the right. So I go in and add these sort of grades because you don't want to see back there. There's really nothing to see anyways. So I try rotating them a bunch and I'm like, I don't like how this looks. So we're going to go in with a greeble, I think that's the actual name, and we're going to fill in the back. And it provides the exact same effect while actually blocking out what's behind there. Because in reality there's just be some pipe mechanics like pipes and cables and stuff like that to power things. I'm like, oh, this needs to end somehow, so I run it back to the side of the rocket, and it doesn't take me until much later to realize that that's not clearance. And of course copying that to the side, angling it a little bit so it's different, and it just kind of looks cool. Also, it's not a perfect circle of the fuel pipes, and I think that's kind of cool. It just shows how it's just kind of this passage in the middle of a bunch of pipes that need to be there. Also, I go for that little texture I was talking about earlier with the box lights because I think it just looks really cool. And it actually, I stick a laser in there, and in a way, this could be how the doors lock. I don't know. I didn't think about that until now. And just I run some cable inside of the meshing because that's kind of probably what would happen. Again, add more cables. I think the cables I need to add more cables up there. But it's a start. Also, I have these piles of cables that are far from realistic in terms of what a rocket would have inside of it, because that would just kind of, destroy something. So So I go and cover up the bottom using smoke and that little airplane, because it creates those sparks as well and looks kind of cool. And I think that actually works pretty well. And then I go through and add lasers there, and they look fun. I'm really happy about those lasers. Yeah, I'm thoroughly happy about those lasers. They don't make much sense, but I like them. Oh, me thinking about daylight, day night. So I was gonna make it a dark red inside the rocket. It might still do, but it doesn't really work out here. Because then I realized you're going back outside. It's gonna be whatever time of day it is outside when you go back outside. And I also couldn't really figure out the timings of that, because by the time it became night, you were already at the top of the rocket. But it's really a short trip up the rocket, and I did way too much detail work for how long you're inside the rocket. So look at that. You're only in there for 5 seconds. It's just a very short portion of the ride, and you're going 47 miles an hour up it. And then you're done. We're going to add a big support structure next to the rocket, like what you would see in real life when there's a rocket launch. You have the big rocket support thing. And that's actually going to be a coaster support structure, which I'm quite excited to do. I think that would be quite nice. And I just continue these box lights up, because black is a magic color and hides things. Keep that in mind when building things that need to be hidden. So I add that weird cone at the top, and it's just really not the best of my work. Alright, we're nearing the end of the video, guys. So I hope you enjoyed. Join me for the next part, part 2, where we'll be working on another portion of it, probably starting on the queue line in some way. Urania Gardens will be back within the next few days. I hope you enjoyed. Oh, we're putting these up in there. I started the outro a little early. I wasn't sure how long it would take me. And the fin. I hate the fin. We're gonna redo the fin later. Oh, also smoke. The smoke looks cool. It really does look cool. I'm gonna make it so it fires when you get inside the rocket, so if the people in the queue line, that's an interaction. That's kind of cool. There's still so much to be done. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Join me next time on part 2, and join me for Urania Gardens. And if you liked the video, please sure to like and subscribe.